Hello, Preacher fans. We are talking about Preacher Season 3, Episode 7, Hitler, so stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Everybody, welcome to the Preacher After Show. We are talking about Preacher Season 3, Episode 7, Hitler.
It's called Hitler.
It's called Hitler. We didn't name it. We're just talking about it.
Boy.
I'm your host, Alana Jordan. Joining me today.
Hi, it's Chauncey.
I'm Dave. Hi. Happy to talk about the episode Hitler.
And first overall, what did you guys think?
Well, I thought it was, for one, I feel like the name was an inside joke almost, because it's almost like, now here's the Hitler episode. Oh boy, get ready for the Hitler episode. Here's Hitler. All right, bye, everyone. Now let's move on to the actual.
For like 5 minutes.
Yeah, which was good. I felt like they could have had a bit more fun with Hitler in this episode, if that makes sense.
Weird sentence, but I get what I'm picking up what you're laying down.
But there's stuff I really liked of this episode. I like how this season continues to feel like, often these seasons sometimes feel like they're treading water. They're not quite knowing how to keep with the story. But here they have a continuous story that seems to really be interesting every single episode.
So instead of treading on water, they're walking on water?
Oh, yes. Perfect.
Chauncey, what did you think?
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed this. I thought TC was so funny. There was so many awkward moments. It was kind of like a colliding of worlds with the Grail and like TC and like what was going on there. And I really enjoyed those small moments. So that kind of made there was so, and it was Featherstone and Star. There was so many awkward moments that I dug it. I was just like, but overall I thought it was a really good episode.
I'm with you. I liked it. The comedic timing on this one. Yeah. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Awkward
and certain
great
things were revealed that was interesting.
True.
So
yeah.
True.
And kind of talking about Hitler, going off of the title, it's interesting that we do have Hitler only before the opening credits in the cold open, which that's what we saw of Eugene as well. So it seems like the Saint is coming in. We're seeing just these scenes and not circling back in that episode, which I think is probably leading up to, because everything on the show is so well crafted, into like a 1, 2, 3. We're on the third. Next episode, we'll have the cold open, but then we'll circle back.
Right.
And also, what I'm assuming. We'll see.
The Saint kind of lives in those cold opens too, because remember the whole season where we were visiting the Saint and we didn't know why for a long time. It was just this random cowboy in the past. It's funny. Someone in the chat wrote, "What's more fun than a Subway knockoff for Hitler stuff?" Because
Max's Maxi Grinders.
Yeah, I just, the thing is, I kind of wish I feel like they could have gotten a little bit more gutsy with it, because nowadays there's a lot of the politics are so split in a lot of ways. It would have been interesting to see him actually start to run for something, actually start to become a politician, shave off his mustache, become kind of you wouldn't know it was Hitler unless you actually knew it was Hitler, but you're seeing him start to rise up the ranks. Something like that, instead of working at a Subway and then everyone knew he was Hitler, and it was, he was David Hitler. And I like how his cover is just like a soul patch. So it's it's not the same Hitler. It's different. And I did like how you did get to see him be full-on Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that part because, I think we were talking about last time was the idea of Hitler has to go back to hell, right? Because, he's Hitler. And up until that point, he was kind of they made you kind of feel for him a little bit, or just, he wasn't as evil. And then this episode, it was just he put it out there. And it was yes, thank you for reminding everyone that this guy is Hitler.
And Eugene point blank saying, "I should have never let you out."
Exactly.
Being yes, Eugene, you should not have let out Hitler.
Exactly. Well, he was so lovable last season.
You should have known that he was manipulating you to find a way out, because he's Hitler.
And it was good to hear Hitler be like, "Oh no, he's being anti-Semitic. He's really terrible.
Yeah.
Hitler's terrible."
And then he killed poor Marty.
Yeah.
But Marty, again, cheating on his wife. They always have to have something so that you feel some sort of moral where you're like, they kind of deserved it a little bit.
One to die.
It's not just like nice, jolly old Marty. It's like the saint killed someone who's already not the best. So you still can't really hate on the saint too much.
Well, he's still pure
evil, but
killing chaos. But he is. That's who he is.
That's also my new band name.
Killing Chaos.
Killing Chaos. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It also sounds like you're actually killing chaos, so it's very orderly.
Oh, that's what it is. Is I just show up with binders and color-coded tabs.
Like a great band you got.
It's gonna be great. I'm like,
so
I don't
good.
know how to play instruments, but I know how to file.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
All these dudes are like. Ding, 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 ding. That's the
You know what
sounds
I'm
of
excited
filing.
about is how easily organized and how well filed everything here at AfterBuzz is.
Your transitions are so amazing.
File that one
Wow.
under yes.
Hey, AfterBuzzers! On our network produces after shows for nearly all your favorite TV shows. From dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more, there is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional.
Nuh-uh.
So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out our other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans and for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yeah.
And that's the transition out.
Yeah.
So the rest of this episode was basically broken up into like an A storyline and a B storyline.
Yeah.
Up until this point, we've kind of seen 3 storylines kind of being juggled around
I
simultaneously.
guess there was like a C. There was a C interaction between Featherstone and Tulip.
Yeah.
It was kind of, but that was still part of the
But it was still,
A story.
kind of still part of the overarching, which I guess I'm going to go ahead and say Hitler is C story, and that it's just I'm just going to count that as...
They're just doing the cold open, they're taking him back to hell, and now we're going to find out what happens when he brings him back to hell. I thought it was going to be a bit more of a chase.
I did too.
But
I didn't think
the
it was
joke.
just like, hey, I ordered a foot-long sandwich and a Hitler straight to hell.
I mean, you do have him be like, I'll never go back to hell. I'll never cut to him just walking.
Right,
But it's kind of like, what could he have done?
Yeah, what do you have to say?
I mean, there was...
Honestly, I'm just like, I want Max's Maxi grinders to exist because even though they clearly don't do sufficient background checks on their employees, they did not charge for all of that avocado.
Yeah. Also, that's true. But also, did you notice that when Hitler's like, he's taking me back to hell, the boss is like, oh, you can't do that. Which means the boss really believed that he was going back to hell, which I think it means like he actually thought he was Hitler.
Maybe.
So, and
Probably
also
didn't
there
care.
was that other guy who works for the same company who, when he started getting all Hitlery with the speech, he was like, yeah. So that's not a great company.
That's true. It's not. It's not a great company.
Or maybe that one store.
I thought it was interesting with the workers, how they were complaining about their work conditions and how, of course, just like he did back in the time when he was elected, they actually elected Hitler. So it was like he talked to what at that time workers wanted to hear.
Yeah, he was a charismatic politician who's creating an other for people to focus on, create narratives.
Here it was that he was able to do that in 2018. So, which is something that's not far off from reality.
No one's doing that right now.
Not at all.
But kind of going into... I'm just going to jump into the next story.
Sure.
So, poor Sabina is being led out into the swamp for her Viking funeral. But the visual on this was pretty awesome. Watching him light the gasoline But it was pretty sad.
It was pretty sad, and it also made me feel pretty sad for the alligators in the swamp and all the creatures in the swamp, because he was basically lighting the entire swamp on fire. It was like, it's a cool visual, but that
is not very eco-friendly, Jesse.
No, his footprint is not green whatsoever.
No.
But then, of course, the chopper overhead signifies that the Grail has arrived. Or really, it's weird calling them the Grail because
Well,
hair is
the hair star is Grail.
hair star
And his funky new hat.
Yeah, that was cute. It was like a knitted cap or something.
I want a new hat every episode.
but
I
not like
love-
TC's possum innards hat.
No, nothing like that.
TC was so awkward this episode.
so good.
He was so trying to like engage with them, like with Featherstone, and
He's so lovable.
he is. It's so
I think
weird.
the editing,
I
I
really
think-
like him.
I do. I just have to say, with TC's character especially, I think that it just really exemplifies how the
Yeah.
editors on this show are incredible because they're able to edit these moments so that it's just the perfect comedic timing.
It's also the actor too,
Yeah,
because that,
yeah.
that,
Oh,
that
100%
timing is
too.
like amazing, and also that was a perfect pairing to get Hairstar and TC in a room together, even just for like a couple of minutes. That was perfect. You needed that moment because they're so complete opposites of one another.
Like him just going on the phone and just like not saying anything, and TC's just waiting for him to
Yes.
finish. Like
yeah.
it was just
So
a great
good.
visual for one, but then go to the next room. It was
Yeah.
great. And then him
before-
trying to like with Featherstone's nose, which is still bruised, which I kind of like that they're keeping going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's broken, so that's a messed up nose for a while. Like,
yeah, it's
broken nose.
janky. Like Tulip left her mark, literally.
Yeah.
But before they even get into any of that, Grandma has her one-on-one meeting, which this was kind of the big thing that was led up in the what to anticipate for this episode, of basically Hairstar saying whatever he can to get Grandma to agree to loan
Yeah.
out Jesse. And then we see just how intense Grandma really is with her flicking the handkerchief and just
Yeah.
sending Jesse into the wall, and that I love him more than anything, but I'll tear him in half and drink his soul. And
Yeah.
Didn't she also pee on his foot?
she took
Yeah,
her
she
catheter
took out her
out.
catheter and let it drip on his foot. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was like, I don't care. Like it's kind
Well,
of.
I mean,
That's a
he
hell of
did
a power
pitch the
move.
Yeah, it is,
down-home
it is.
witching hour with Voodoo Granny, and it's like, get out
She
of
would
here.
not be good for that.
Like, why would you even say that?
Hairstar, he might have a good eye for messiahs, but he does not have a good eye for talent. I'll say
That's
that
true.
much.
He didn't think that the tap dancing was going to win out.
Yeah, and that
So-
turned out to be quite So
And the tap
he
dancing
doesn't
was a
know when he
hit.
has a
He's
hit.
no
or doesn't
Simon
know-
Cowell or
Yes,
Cowell.
Cowell.
It needs more Cowell.
needs more cowbell.
Wow, we just got off the train.
Yeah, we did. Now, unfortunately, though, Featherstone ends up running her mouth because she's annoyed with Tulip having punched her in the
Yeah.
face,
Yeah.
and asks about Genesis, or point blank says about Genesis in front of TC, who asks, and he says it's a band. Or immediately, both of the women are like, "It's a band,"
Yeah,
which I did think was pretty clever.
that's good. I like how they both went to that too. And I'm surprised TC didn't just go like look up the band and get
Yeah.
into Genesis.
You would think, but
he got it enough.
that
he was
wouldn't
asked
keep the
this-
storyline going. So
Yeah, yeah. And you got a sense that Grandma actually kind of knew what Genesis was.
yeah. It seems like she definitely knew what Genesis was, and she
Yeah.
seemed like her interest was piqued, but she also seemed a little intimidated.
Yeah. Well, what this means is like, okay, so if she kind of realized that if she finds out that maybe Jesse has this ability and Jesse does get that ability back, she's still controlling Jesse even though he has Genesis. So that's kind of it could then be controlled by her possibly.
Exactly.
Can
Kind of
he
like
not
that
use
third
it on
party.
her though?
Who knows?
That's
I mean-
that's why I would think that's why he wants it back, so he could
Unless-
tell her like, let me go or kill yourself or
Well,
something.
that was I think his objective, but it seems like if she knows in advance, then she has the capabilities to kind of prepare herself against maybe.
She can do her own voodoo thing and really guard herself from that.
I wonder if it would be stronger than Genesis though.
I don't think it'll be stronger, but I think it might be a shield or something. Like it might be
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
where putting chicken innards in her ear does something, you know.
I mean,
That's what I
we've
assume is
already
going to
seen
happen.
that, you know, she knows that if she can't hear him,
Yeah.
and so if Jesse doesn't know that she knows that he going all the way down.
Yeah.
But then yeah, she could just pull what Hairstar did and put cotton swabs in her ears.
Right.
I mean, anything just to block out noise.
Yeah.
So
It's also keep in mind that anything done to her is still done to Tulip.
Done to-
Exactly.
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
but we
that's
do
still
find out that Soul Happy Go-Go is owned by the Grail.
Love that name. I
Soul
forgot
Happy
about
Go-Go.
that name, and I'm so glad it's back.
I will never forget the name Soul
Yeah.
Happy Go-Go. I want a Soul Happy Go-Go t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'd wear it all the
especially
time.
with those 666s.
Yeah, it's
on
cute.
them. That's really nice.
I would 100%. Somebody make this shirt. I'll wear it. I
Yeah.
want it. But yeah, so they end up basically saying, look, we can get you all the souls that you need. We got millions of them.
Right.
And we're going to send Featherstone to Osaka to get it, which Jesse's not having. So Tulip's going to
Tulip's
go.
also going. And Jody.
Jody
as
went,
well.
yeah.
And Jody's going too. TC, of course, can't fly, which
No.
makes sense. I don't want to be on a plane with TC either. So
Definitely have ideas of why he can't fly.
many
Yeah.
ideas. Ugh.
Yeah. But one moment that I really liked from this episode is when Tulip is saying her goodbyes to Jesse, and they have this romantic moment.
Yeah.
And they kiss, and Featherstone just
I
wants...
know. It's
She
so
just wants
awkward.
the same. She just wants
So
the same
sad.
from Airstar, but Airstar's not interested in that.
I'll
like,
call
I'll
you
call-
from the
he's
car.
like, why?
I'll call you when I get on the plane. Why? I'll come back when the mission's done.
I'll tell you what it is. Yes. Okay. Ah, poor.
He's not interested. He's
Featherstone.
just not that. No. Yeah.
Rough.
Gotta find a new guy.
Rough.
I can
It's
get why she
also-
likes him, but
Yeah.
You get why she likes him?
yeah.
I get why she does because she's
Her.
desperate for
I mean,
approval. For,
Yeah, Featherstone is.
I mean,
Damn, that Airstar.
yeah.
Ooh,
I think it's really it's the dickhead that sets it off.
She's super intense, so she likes the super intense.
And he's the cutest of boys.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's so cute.
But poor Tulip just wants to be Marnie.
Yeah.
Her Marnie
Yeah,
Pomerantz, and then now she has to be Janie Finch.
I do have to say, if you're professional con people, you should have more than one alias.
Yeah, I'm
That's
like,
not gonna-
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, nobody figured out that Marnie.
Yeah. Like every bank, as soon as she walks into a bank with the haircut, with like the wig on, and then like saying that she's Marnie, that's not everyone's gonna see that like over and over again. So it's time for her to change things up.
In the last episode, she was on a wanted list.
Oh,
I
yeah?
think her face was when they walked in. You could see, but she didn't have the
Right.
blonde on, so I don't know.
Not the blonde wig.
Yeah, so.
It's true,
By
but
the
now
way, I
she's
love-
Janie Finch.
I love that like the blonde wig was just Tulip's hair from the
Yeah, I
That's
mentioned that.
so
Yeah. I was
Chauncey
like, we
mentioned
got
that.
that. We got that reference.
I loved it.
Someone
I loved
says
it.
the So Happy Go Go T-shirts actually already exist.
Oh,
What?
I'm getting one.
Yes.
Oh, I want it. I
we all
want
have to
it.
get it.
But yeah, I also love just the comedic moment of Hairstar with his very matter of fact, but like also in the business district, there's some great sushi. You're probably not going to have time, but if you do,
Yeah.
go pick it up. I just like the comedic moments in this episode are just so spot on.
Yeah.
Also, I thought that was like the nicest thing Hairstar has ever said.
100 I'm like,
That
this
you-
has
if
to
you-
be some dope sushi if he's like taking the time to
Yeah.
mention it. Like I'm like, oh, make time.
Hairstar even said, "Keep the receipts,
Yeah,
so
like-
you'll get paid back
Reimbursement.
for the sushi." He is being such a nice guy right
Yeah,
now.
it's weird.
It's so strange. Like I'm not quite used to it, and I'm used to him being like so evil in a lot of ways.
Well, I think
but-
right now he wants to be as likable as possible because if Jesse hates him, it's
Right.
the end of the world. So
Yeah.
I feel like he's probably like, lesser of two evils. If you guys want sushi, get your sushi.
Yeah, and he's really trying to take down the Grail, so he's trying to use Custer for that. So he actually seems like a pretty good guy right now.
Yeah, they've made that a very interesting point in the sense of knowing what Allfather wants, and
Right.
it's like they've kind of made Star that's the one that's like, well, maybe his plan isn't so bad.
Ivan Soto in the chat said, like, I'm confused still. Are we supposed to like Star? Seriously? I think that's kind of the point. I think we're supposed to. I think one thing the show's doing well that the comic also had too is talking about shades of gray and talking about people like that's why we went through that confusing season of actually kind of liking Hitler. And it's
Yeah.
good to see Hitler be a bad guy so we could be like, oh, good, he's just Hitler. But in this case, we're like seeing Airstar that we kind of thought was a bad guy, and now he's seeming kind of good, but things could change again.
Because it's all relative.
Yeah. You just see what the alternative is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you see like Humperdew and the Allfather and how terrible they are. And in that way, you're kind of going with the devil you know.
Yeah, and ultimately we do see his plan, which as poor Tulip is stuck on a 16-hour flight, sitting in between Featherstone and Jody. Which
but Tulip, to be honest, you could have grabbed the book. You could.
She could have thought about it.
I mean, I'm sorry, Tulip. I feel bad for you, but there were so many times in that airport that you could have just gotten a good John Grisham, gotten like whatever you wanted. And just,
on a 16-hour flight, you can read that in-flight brochure because that's basically what it is.
That's on you,
You're
lady.
fine.
That's on you.
That's true.
But when Jesse is talking to Star in the elevator about getting his soul back, and he's going to, the actual Grail, and basically here Star is saying, look, you have to trust me now. You have to. This is bigger than you understand, but we can't pull this, I'm not going to be the Messiah afterwards. Like, this is a big deal. And for this to work, you're going to have to kill the All-Father.
Right.
And that's kind of where we end up leaving them.
Yeah.
Is that to get his soul.
And this is the first time, like, Jesse's ever really seen the All-Father. Or really even know. Does he talk about the All-Father at all? Does he even know about him?
I didn't hear it mentioned at all.
Yeah, he knows about him. Well, I guess he knows about Humperdew, and I guess he knows that that's the plan of the Grail. So I think meeting the All-Father isn't that far off. So
yeah, it makes sense, but it's interesting to see. We're not going to spoil anything for anybody who didn't watch the next on, but it's interesting to see how that seems like it's going to play out.
Okay, cool. Cool.
I won't spoil it for you yet.
Good, yeah.
I'll say it later. I'll say it at the end. But at the same time that all of this is going on, Hoover is calling and saying, look, I've got eyes on Cassidy. I've got the leverage. I've figured him out. He's here with L'Enfant de Sang. And Les Enfants de
Children of the Blood. What is the name of that head vampire? I'm trying to. Eccarius. For one, can we talk about the Hoover going into that confessional?
Right? Yeah,
I want to wear Miley Cyrus skin like a pellet?
Like a pelt.
A pelt. And then that was the secret code to go down into all of these vampire hunters just working out in the gym.
Sick nuns and priests just sick ripped
nuns.
as hell.
Ripped, swole nuns. Just
that's my next band name.
No, that's mine. I'm calling it out. Rip Swole Nuns is like...
I like that one.
That's that's
opening for Killer Chaos.
Gonna hit all the Christian charts. Death metal.
And I also love that when we see Cass with everybody in the bar, he's teaching Kevin how to roll a joint.
Yeah.
And it's like, what will Kevin's Nana think? Kevin.
Yeah. Oh, Kevin.
Kevin's Nana, I think, is my favorite character this season.
Also, Kevin's Nana, she gets down. You can tell.
Kevin's Nana is like...
She's got some glaucoma medication herself, I'm sure. You could tell. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just waiting. I love this episode for a lot of reasons. I loved Cass's story in this episode particularly because they've been building up this thing that is missing from Cass's life this whole time, and about how he just wants someone to love and someone to be with, and we got to see this epic bromance that actually turns into a romance, and I love that they went there, and I love that was like a thing they did, because I think I'm curious to see how the Preacher fandom's going to take that, and if there's people that are going to be weirded out by that, or not. But I mean, he
mentions throughout that he's been with men and women throughout all of his 119 years.
Yeah,
it's like,
it would make sense, and especially with Cass, it fits with the character, and I'm glad that they did it, and I think it's like a great thing to do. I think it's a little bit of departure from Eccarius from the comics, but we could talk about that later in the spoiler section. But like, I just liked they're building up this relationship. He's making it seem like, hey, you can be a vampire and be good too. But the entire time, you're just waiting for that shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And as soon as they brought up, like, oh, he takes him to the airport. I'm like,
I felt like something was weird. I was like,
Well, this is kind of what we were anticipating was going to happen. But when they first showed Ding Yong come out, so I was like, oh, well, I guess I was wrong, because here he is. And he's a vampire, and he's here. And then when they're like, time to fly, and then they just put the neck pillow around him, I lost it. I lost it. Great. I was like, that is brilliant. But this whole time, too, Eccarius is asking Cass to be more involved, to the point that he's saying, look, Lisa is the next to be turned. She wants you to turn her. And he's saying, no, I've only experienced bad things. And Eccarius is ultimately able to kind of sway him. But it's really Lisa saying that Eccarius is creating this network of
vampire missionaries.
Yeah, vampire missionaries all over the world.
As soon as they said that, and as soon as we saw this fantasy sequence, I was like,
it's like, oh, this is going to end
too
so
good.
That means I was like, that's not happening. That is not what's actually occurring.
Yeah, it's like, and so I was excited to find out what was really happening. There's some people on the chat talking about the rules of the vampires of this world. A lot of it is we're kind of discovering it ourselves. Like we get the sense that he maybe is getting these powers from creating all these vampires, but maybe that's not how he's doing it. Maybe he's doing it by sucking dry vampires.
That's what I thought. I thought once he did that, I was like, so that's how he's, because Cass still couldn't do the other stuff.
Yeah.
But he was able to do it. So I'm like, this must be the extra step of him killing the other vampires.
Which is, and also I personally like it that how they turn vampires is just biting them and not killing them. And that's how a lot of vampire myths happen anyway. So
sort of like a werewolf, though, because I don't know, they usually exchange blood, don't they?
It's normally
they do sometimes, because it's kind of supposed to be a sharing bodily fluids sort of thing. So vampires super sexual, but like in this case, I think it's okay. I think they could have done with a little bit of shared blood. They could have had that, but yeah, it's I kind of like what they're doing, and I'm interested to see where they're going with it. And I like where the shoe is dropping and how it's dropping. Maybe
they don't have the shared blood because maybe Eccarius giving his blood would have given those powers to the new vampire.
True.
And that's kind of how they get away with it, is that it's just the bite. But again, that's just me hypothesizing.
I thought his reasoning was very interesting, too. The whole, this idea, like he's been telling Cass, like, vampires are so great and da-da-da-da.
They can be
and
good.
Then, in the car, he's basically like vermin of the earth, like he's a self-hater of some sort. And it was like, where's that coming from? Well, so I think it'll be interesting.
He has the same sort of fear and self-hate that Cassidy does. But what's interesting about these two now is you can also see why maybe he's attracted to Cassidy as well, because he sees in Cass someone who's been a vampire for a while, and is doing okay. And seems to be a pretty good, quote-unquote, good vampire.
And is going against all of the conventional norms. Like, he's giving him his first coffin that he's saying, this is what we've done for forever. And he's like, this isn't what I do. I pop Molly and I pass out on a couch. So it's such a unique thing for him that I think he genuinely is enthralled by it. Like how, ironically enough, how mesmerizing is the one skill that Cass can't really seem to master, that he's kind of doing over his shoulder. Cass is mesmerizing him, but in a way that he's not anticipating.
I think it's a lot like, it reminds me of Dexter a little bit, where Dexter is someone who's could only be a serial killer by killing other serial killers, and he's kind of doing the same. He's just creating those serial killers right before he kills them, and that's how he's like been able to maintain his abilities and his powers, while Cass is more just like, just take that Molly, sleep on the couch.
As he says, a wanton, riotous junkie, and I love it.
Yeah, it was great. And
I love that, though.
I feel bad for Cass, though.
Exactly. It's like, it was sort of his rebound from Tulip, and he thought that he found something, and now it's going to be pretty much crushing his heart.
He's going to find out what's going to happen to, we're a little bit in predictions now, but like, it's so inevitable that he's going to find out what's going to happen.
Be heartbreaking.
And he's going to have to confront him, and it's building up to like another great episode. It's why these episodes are really good this season, because there's no like, all right, we're meeting Tulip's other husband.
That.
Yeah,
Like,
this is all. Yeah, everything is
cool.
expediting the plot. Everything is
all,
moving
like,
everything forward.
Has to do with the character. It all has to do something and keeps moving forward. It's really good.
And all of the storylines tie in. We see Hoover going to attack with his buff priests and the
Swole
dark
nuns.
guns, swole nuns.
Who were kind of anticlimactic. Like,
Well,
They were.
like
I thought it was awesome just seeing Cass being like, I've built up a tolerance to tranquilizers.
Yeah, yeah.
How about
he
you?
was
Just
awesome.
stabbing a nun? Because when else are you going to cheer on somebody stabbing a nun with a dart? Like,
So many times.
yeah, you'd be surprised how many people don't like
so
nuns.
many times.
it's got weird and dark. I will have none of it.
Great, thanks, Dad.
Sorry.
Yeah, and I like the sunlight themes, but I kind of also knew it was going to be a little like fast because there's a lot of swole nuns and priests, but none of them talk. None of them have a single name,
Yeah.
so it's
definitely, background actor, swole nun.
It's
number
definitely
one.
like
Red shirts. I was just about to say
Yeah,
red shirts. They're
100%.
totally.
So when it happened, and also as soon as it blows up in the face, and just having Hoover go like, ah, shit,
And
just
then
run
just
out.
like running away. Which
Yeah.
then I love it cutting to Cass thinking that Eccarius is dead and being so upset, and then immediately discovering that he's a mouse.
I mean,
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't know you could do that.
yeah, but I was kind of like, well, cute little kitten or mouse or something. And
Yeah.
so when it happened, I was like, you didn't look around for that? Like, I don't know. It's like,
Well, I guess he would have seen like a cat.
I guess he was
You
looking
know,
for a
like
cat.
he was looking for a
saw
cat,
him
and then
out.
he's like, I didn't know it was a mouse, because give it enough time, we can do anything.
right.
Yeah.
There's also like when somebody says that, which part of it I think is because, as by his own admission, he took his first bong hit that night. Like I'm like, all right, Eccarius, you're talking a little
Right.
philosophical.
Yeah.
Like let's rein it in a little bit.
Yeah.
You did get blasted with that like sunbeam light, so
Right,
calm down
right.
a little bit.
Okay, yeah, cool your jets. I do like. I also when he does take people to the plane, seeing the line of burnt, like
Yes.
vampire bodies just laying out in the sun. That was
a cool visual.
cool. That was
But
a cool
I
way
kind
doing
of
it.
thought, because they'd said, he's been doing this for 50 years, and we saw that huge fish tank with all of the teeth.
Yeah.
I kind of thought we would see even more bodies. I mean,
Well, you
it's
said
assumed that it goes
hundreds.
on for...
But also, they turn into dust. So
That's
Yeah,
true.
so
Eventually it
blown
blows
away.
away.
Yeah.
So it's like the
But-
fact that you see, like, I don't know, I feel like you saw 15, 20.
Yeah.
But
Because he
it's like
does one like every week, right? Like, or every,
yeah, pretty
like...
much.
Yeah.
something like
It's intense. Poor Lisa.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
we
thought
started to
Lisa
like
would.
her, too.
Yeah, I thought she would last a bit, but I guess that had to happen for you to see just how bad he was. To
Right.
do that to Lisa, who seemed like the most devoted out of everyone.
And also, she's the one that first met Cass. And
Exactly.
Kind of
Yeah,
brought
and
Cass
kind of
in,
brought him in.
and seemed like she was maybe like someone who's going to be a good influence in Cass's life,
And who could be a good vampire to
yeah,
keep him on the good vampire track.
But do you think there could be a good vampire? I think that's a question, because I think what, especially after seeing Eccarius's like response to this, it makes me feel like it really is hard to be a good
Yeah.
vampire. Like,
Well, it's like I imagine the psychological toll of spending hundreds and hundreds of years and seeing everyone you love die around
Right.
you.
yeah.
do we know how old Eccarius is? Ivan Soto in the chat says he's 400 years old, but I don't know if we actually know this.
He might have mentioned it in passing because I
I
know he
wonder
said
about
he
that.
made it seem like he was older than Cass, but I don't know if he gave an exact number.
That's okay. We'll talk about this in the spoilers, but that's very different from the comics.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, it is.
that's interesting to talk about.
And kind of before we wrap up here, I guess just the last thing is him actually going into the coffin with Cass, and we're assuming gonna
Yeah.
have a presumed relationship that
Yeah, they seem like a nice
ultimately-
couple.
They're gonna hook
too.
up.
Oh,
Oh,
Vampire love.
Cassius.
no.
It's a
Did you just
Cassius.
meld their names?
I shipped them.
No.
They're
No.
Cassius. I know he's evil, but they're cute.
All right, we're just gonna
They have
bury
chemistry. They definitely have
They got
chemistry.
chemistry.
that. They're in the coffin, but we're burying that name.
Cassius. Hashtag Cassius.
Well, any
Spread it.
last thoughts on this episode before we dive into some comic spoilers here?
I mean, I'm curious. I'm excited about what the next episode.
Well, let's dive into a little bit of predictions. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say about Grandma or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
She cried a little bit. We didn't mention that, and I just feel like it's some weird thing of how she actually loves Jesse.
She does love
and
Jesse.
she's so twisted.
Yes,
it was such a weird. I mean, the actress is doing such a great job, but it was such a weird moment. It was like she come back, won't you? I'm going to kill you if you die. I was just like,
she reminded everybody too that she killed her own daughter, broke her in half, ate her soul, and sent her to hell.
Yeah, and then she cried, and then a single tear. I'm like, wow.
She's pretty evil. She's like, I think, the most evil character.
I ship her in the
show.
Saint.
I think we
both think even the Saint's not as evil, because the Saint's just like rage and murder and chaos, but he's like a tornado. He's like a natural force. You can't really be evil. She's just pure.
Yeah. She's conniving.
That just stood out to me. I felt like I was just like, I wanted to highlight that performance. It was just nice.
Well, how about we hop into some predictions and talk about what we think is going to happen with Grandma?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And now your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So, what are you guys thinking? I'm thinking now that Grandma knows to prepare for Genesis.
Yeah, she's going to have some sort of defense up.
Jesse's plan is going to go not too great. I also feel like because he's telling Tulip, one of us is going to get back here. Here's the plan. If we both don't, I'm wondering if it's going to be a situation where, because they've now split and she's going to be in Osaka while Jesse's dealing with all of this.
Yeah.
A little bit of a spoiler. We see going into the next week on... is we do see Jesse shoot the Allfather.
Oh.
And kill him.
And kill him? You see that in the next week on?
We see it in the next week on.
The only thing that confused me was in that next one, like when they first opened the elevator in the episode, Star was there. And then in the next episode, he wasn't. And he had the gun. So I'm like, when did that happen?
Okay, that makes me want to talk about what happens in the comics, but we'll talk about it in a second.
We'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, but like that's a little disappointing if it's just a shooting.
And that's what
head.
I wondered too. I was like, is it really going to be that quick? I don't know.
Yeah, so. I feel like they could do a little bit better with the Allfather's death if it's just that. But we'll see. We'll find out. And I also think I'm curious to see how long. I feel like the pace of this season so fast that I think the next time we visit Cass, he's going to find out.
I mean, we only have 3 episodes left.
Yeah, so I feel like in the next episode, he's going to find out what's happening to all these vamps.
It's got to, I think probably you're right, near the end of the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because it's in order to kind of keep this show going like it is, I think he's going to find out what's happening, and then he's going to spend the next episode deciding what to do. And then probably the last episode fighting and leaving him or doing something of that sort.
Well, we also know this episode Tulip asked Jesse to go and check on him.
True.
And says, this is your best friend.
That's right, because he's in New Orleans
because
right
he's going
now.
to New Orleans. So I'm wondering if maybe Eccarius is going to be not too thrilled that Jesse, the best friend, is moving in and is going to maybe make
that's
some
definitely going to be weird.
Yeah, that
jealous
actually
vampire swooping in.
I could see that being what reveals Eccarius' true colors is actually doing something to Jesse, and then Cass has to choose a side between Jesse and Eccarius. That's interesting.
I think, and of course, I think he'll choose Jesse despite their, or maybe he'll choose Tulip in a way, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Jesse has a way to Tulip.
Yeah.
Well, also, like, Jesse's still a good guy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
if Eccarius does something that reveals how horrible he is by attacking Jesse, then, yeah, he's going to go with, like, Jesse. Yeah. But but at the same time, this is Preacher, so Jesse could do the same thing and reveal something terrible about himself.
Yes.
So
and I'm interested to see how things go with Tulip and with Featherstone and breaking into Soul Happy Go-Go.
That's going to be a great, like, con kind of heist.
Hopefully they'll show this one, because they didn't show the bank heist last time. So it was like in and out.
Over it.
So this one, I think they're going to have to show it.
They probably didn't show it, so they can show this one.
Yeah, so we'd want this one.
Okay.
If this one is dope, then it'll make me feel a lot better about them skimming over that other one, because I was kind of disappointed last time.
Yeah.
Well, they can't just like have this all be off screen. They're on their way to Japan right now. You got to see them there.
Yeah.
Like, you got to have an episode there. Okay, cool.
Okay, so guys, here's the deal. As we've been talking about, we want to talk about the comics and about how they relate to the episode, but we don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't had the chance to read the comics yet. So, we're going to say our goodbyes to you right now, but if you have read the comics and you want to hear us spoil some stuff and continue to speak about the show and how it relates to the Preacher comics, stick around after our goodbyes. If you don't want to hear it after we say farewell, you can click off.
Right.
But until then, where can everybody find you?
You can find me at davechild.com or Mr. Dave Child, wherever you go on the socials.
And you can find me at Miss Chauncey KR on Twitter.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at that Alana Jordan Girl. You can find us all here at AfterBuzz TV. Again, be sure to rate, subscribe, click that thumbs up, and then join us again next week. And okay, this is your last spoiler warning. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Okay, bye, you're gone.
You've been sufficiently warned. Okay.
Spoiler alert.
There we go.
Spoiler alert.
I love that with the music.
With the Preacher, I like it.
So, Eccarius.
And out. And we're out.
And Eccarius in the comics is kind of like reveals himself to be a huge nerd.
Yeah. Like he was kind of like not as smart and everything.
Yeah. And he's also like super young. You get the chance that he's maybe been a vampire for a couple of months. And he's just built these goth people like around him after he's been around. But you do get a sense with this Eccarius that he has been around longer. And also the Eccarius from the comics does not have all these additional powers.
Yeah.
That's a new thing that they put into the show. He's the same amount of vampire as Cass is. He's just using it in a way to kind of hang out with the cool kids and impress people.
I think it's interesting that they changed it for the show, though. I think it makes it, one, slightly a little bit tonally jarring at first. Because you're not really expecting it, like when he changes into a cat, when he like eats the owl and everything. Like I was like, this is kind of weird for the show, but now I'm really into it, and I feel like having these abilities is what ultimately makes it make sense for Cass to latch on to this person, because otherwise, with Cass being burned so many times, and literally having his child burn and him being the cause of it, and having to kill his own vampire.
And remember, there was no child in the comics too. But at this point, when he does hang out with Eccarius in the comics, he is still wanting a friend, and he's still wanting a companion. That's what Eccarius is for a while, until things go south. But it's more in the sense where Eccarius just wants to start killing people, I believe.
I thought it was good that they did that because, one, it throws off anyone who's read the comic to think. Because at the moment when he was so, like, sophisticated, and I was like, well, maybe they're switching it up so you actually care about this character right now. So that it's, maybe it doesn't go that, route. And then they still do it. And I think it actually resonated more that, for his... not necessarily just doing it because, I just want to drain them dry, but this idea of he also has a complex like Cassidy does, which I thought deepened it. It's like they earned it more.
Yeah, they're more complex characters, and they're both self-hating, and they both want.
And it was interesting, like the speech almost too, because with the episode being called Hitler, kind of the going back to the Hitler self-hating Jew and him reaching out to, and that being his reason, quote unquote, as he said in different interviews. It was interesting seeing how that was kind of reflected in Eccarius, where he hates himself, so he wants to kill all of the versions of himself that exist. All of those who are like him. Yeah.
And Ivan Soto, by the way, is asking, is Eccarius a cliche vampire in the comics? Yes, he is. Yes. That's why there's that twist of he's super young and is just a poser.
Yeah, that's why he's more of a poser. And this one, it's like he's actually
seems to be legitimately
called out as a poser at the beginning, and then kind of disproves that, which is kind of the opposite of the comics.
Which is the opposite of the comics.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of a red herring. Like, they kind of threw you off if you knew what the comics, where the comics were going.
You still have your poser fun with his legion that's following him around. Also, just for prediction's sake, one of my favorite deaths in the comics is dropping the Allfather on Humperdew
Yeah.
And I know you can't do that from a helicopter, but I was hoping it was going to come out of a window or something.
I don't think they're gonna kill him. I don't think they're gonna kill him next episode.
You don't think they're going to kill him?
You think it's gonna do
I
it?
thought they were gonna go with the All-Father crushing Humperdew. I thought that's why they set up him crushing somebody for taking his Pop-Tart.
But do you think
I
they'll
thought
do
the whole
it
thing-
this episode?
No, I don't think
no.
he's going to die in the next episode.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what I was saying.
I think that's
gunshot
shooting
is
him.
fake.
In,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe.
I think that's a sequence. It's a weird like cutaway that
It could be
Jesse's the
something.
only one in the elevator. I just think because like you're saying, like this character, I think
Yes.
they wouldn't do it that quickly.
I think it also I think it earns it now. I think that, and that's going to be such a funny thing to see in a horrible way. But also, I'm wondering if next episode, since they're going back to hell right now, if next episode Satan's going to get his brains blown out.
We do see Satan.
Next episode,
Yeah.
but we
In the-
don't. We in the coming up on we see Satan, but we don't know in what capacity.
He seems to be sending the angel of death out to do something though.
Right. The Angel of Death is kind of a new character.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay,
So we'll see.
what
We'll see where
happens.
that goes. And we also see Hoover with a whole bunch of vampires surrounding his car, so we know something's gonna go down with Les Enfants des Sons.
Well, vampires.
Vampires, vamposers.
Vamposers.
Vamposers, hey.
My new band name.
New band.
So,
Great.
any last thoughts on the comics and how they tie in?
I mean, I'm just excited to see where this goes. I think they're changing it up enough that it can go anywhere, and it leaves it so I don't know what's coming up next. But at the same time, I have a good feeling about what's coming up next, and I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm very excited to see when and how Jesse's gonna lose his eye. That's my thing about future seasons.
You've got your eye on that one.
I feel like that's gonna be next season or the end of this season.
Well, you know, they never
Potentially.
made Rick lose his hand, so maybe it might not be something
That's
they do.
true. That's true. But I feel like I feel like Jesse's gonna become the Jesse from the comics once he loses his eye. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
An eye for an eye, man.
Yeah, man.
So hopefully you guys will use your eyes to watch us next week. And in the meantime, one more time, where can we find you guys?
You can find me at mrdavechild and davechild.com. I'm Dave Child.
And you can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan and on Instagram at that Alana Jordan Girl. And you can find us all here next week. So tune in next week. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.